Focused area strategy for literacy document. We're on to this fourth strategy, claim, evidence, reasoning, graphic organizer. So again, I've got the resources and things here. You have two graphic organizers at your table. The first one we're going to utilize is the one that has it's this with the more rounded corners. There's two graphic organizers. You want the one with the more rounded corners that looks less like the typical 5-paragraph essay setup. All right, so we're going to use that. So you can see here we've referenced the different pieces. We're going to use this piece of artwork in a moment, but this is work that's been adopted from Eric Brunsell. I know he blogged, I believe, for Edutopia, but he's also a very science-orientated person, and with the Next Generation Science Standards is really looking heavy at the literacy component. And then this is also a strategy used by Kelly Gallagher, and he's done this different times. So we're going to kind of, again, take Eric's idea and put a little more Kelly spin to it and move forward. So remember, our text examination now is we're into this essay portion, right? So this is that newer portion that we're maybe not quite as familiar with as we have been on these other sections that have been very similar to what ACT was, right? Let's be honest. So this, though, this is a new part of the assessment that we're not used to. And I think this is a great strategy to use to really dig into it, honestly. The additional resource here is to ReadWorks. If you aren't familiar with ReadWorks, and I'm sure all of us in this room are, but if you're not, it is Lexile leveled with questions and other things, so you can practice this kind of stuff, especially that reading section all day long. But it's good to maybe get some texts to use as you're about to see us model this strategy. You might go there to find text to use to try this strategy. So what we're going to have you do, let me see what I put here. All right. So what we're going to have you do is I'm going to pull up a picture, and you are going to use this graphic organizer, and we're going to do this in 3 steps. The first step that you're going to do it in is individually. So when I pull up the piece of artwork, you're going to individually start filling in the different components of this graphic organizer. Now, remember, on the essay portion of the SAT, it's going to ask you to look at a given argument and break that argument down to see if it is a good representation of an argument. Is it a solid argument? Does it have the right components? Does it draw the best evidence? Does it make its point? Is it believable? Is it structured? So you've got to identify components, and you've got to pull that all forward. So I believe that uses the terminology purpose, correct? The author's purpose. So for this activity, we're going to look at this piece of artwork. It's by Joseph Griffith. It's called The Surrender. And it was painted for the 225th anniversary of the Battle of Yorktown. It's a very interesting painting, as you'll see. But what we would like you to do is fill in these components. So first, write what it is that you observe. That'll go in the data or your observations. Then you're going to write the claim. So what do you think the meaning is of the picture that the author is giving you? So what does that mean? You're going to articulate that. And whatever you determine that meaning to be, then we want you to start citing the evidence that you saw in the picture that made you think that, and then your reasoning for why that evidence fit with what you are claiming that picture to be about. Okay? Any questions you might have on that? So we're going to do it just for a few minutes individually, then we'll turn to partners, and then it'll be a table conversation. So right now, individually, if you would please fill that out around the surrender. So there's the surrender. At this point, we talk about multiple reads of text, right? So at this point, when Kelly does the exercise, what he would have you do is kind of write on a scale of 1 to 10 how confident you are in what you've documented. So how confident are you in the claim? So what do you think this picture represents? The evidence you've pulled and your reasoning for that. So how confident are you in that? I haven't necessarily added that on there, but that's kind of a wrinkle that Kelly does. And the point is that you're kind of evaluating it from your own individual perspective. So now that you've individually analyzed this, you now have kind of an idea of what this picture's about. Or you're like how I was when I first looked at it. I don't know if I really do understand what it's about. And I would have given myself probably more like a 2 or 3 out of 10. Right? So that's our first read. So now I'm inviting you to turn to a partner or a group of three, but not the whole table just yet, just a partner, or if it's three at a table, you might have to do a group of three. I guess we'll be stuck with that. But go ahead and talk about what are your claims, what are your evidence, and some of your reasoning. All right? Any questions you might have? All right, turn to your elbow partner and go ahead and have that dialogue. Okay, if I could have you just pause the conversations for a second. So what I'd like you to do now that you've had this partner conversation, go back to that number. Hopefully you're adding new evidence, making changes. What's your new number on a scale of 1 to 10 of how well you feel you understand or are confident in your claim? Put a new number down. So maybe you were at 2, now you're at 4. Maybe you were at 8, now you're at 5. It depends on how that conversation went. So now open it up to your table, and what do you think this painting is representing, and use that graphic organizer to help make those claims and flesh that out. All right? Table group now, table group. Go ahead.